Hello friends, welcome to Online Web Tutor. I am Sanjay. In this video we'll discuss a very interesting topic of CodeIgniter 4, and that is about the concept of flash messages. Back to editor. So before going into the deep concept of flash messages, first let's understand about its definition. So what are flash messages? So flash messages are those messages inside any of the application which we can use as notifications. For example, if we are submitting any form, on success, the message will be something called form has been submitted, or in case of any error, let's say failed to save data. So these messages which we can display inside a notification or inside our Flash container. So these messages will appear for front-end users for a very short period of time. So in this video, we will understand inside CodeIgniter 4 that if we want to use the concept of flash messages, how to use that. Let's go inside app folder, controllers. So I will open, let's say, site controller.php. Inside this controller, we don't have any method. So let's create our first method, that is public function. And let's say the method name will be something called myForm. So inside CodeIgniter 4, if we want to work with flash messages, we have lots of options available. So the first option I will use something called session. I am simply defining a variable and I am using a session helper function. So by the help of this helper function, we are creating a session object. And by the help of this object, actually we will call some methods, and by the help of those methods we can work with the concept of flash messages. So here session, it's a session object and we will call set flash data. Look at IntelliSense, the first parameter we need to pass a key name. So here let's say that our flash message will be stored inside a key called message, and here let's say that form data has been submitted. So for example, this is the message we are storing inside this key, and let's say that return, I will call a view here and let's say my -form. So I will copy this value from here, go to views directory, so app views folder, and inside this folder I will create a file called myform.php. So here we have created a session object. By the help of this object we have stored a session value that is actually a flash data, and let's say that we are going to send this flash data message to this view file. So here we have our view file. Now let's see that how to get that value. So php tag, and within this tag let's echo session as a helper function, and we'll we'll use a method called get flash data, and inside here we need to pass that key. So message is the key where we have stored this flash data. So successfully, this is the way to store that value, and this is the way to get that value. Now let's create a route. So I will go inside config folder. Let's open routes.php, and inside this file let's create a route. So here let's say routes get method, and if I will call it as myForm, this route will call site controller, and from site controller we have the method as myForm. Save these changes. Let's go back to terminal, start development server. So php spark serve, press enter, it will start development server, and to access application we need to open this URL. So right click, let's click on open link. Now we can see our landing page. So here / let's say my-form. If I press enter, now we can see that here we have a message. Form data has been submitted. So to understand better, means in a better way about flash messages, let's quickly create a form inside this view file. So here it's a form tag. Inside this, let's define a input type text box. let's say name equals to name. I will add a placeholder. Let's enter name and also will create a button and let's call it as submit. Inside this form action attribute, I will use let's say echo base URL, and here I will use the same route my hyphen form, and here but the method type equals to post request type. So this is the route again we need to define inside this routes.php, but the method type will be post request type. So currently it is get request type, so I will copy that line, paste it here, and this is for post request type. Let's go inside site controller. So whenever we fill any data inside this input type text box, click on submit, so it will hit this URL using post request type. So I will go and let's reload that page. Now we can see that here we have an input type text box and a submit button. So what we want that whenever we submit any name from here, then a flash message we want here something name data has been submitted. Back to editor, go inside site controller, let's remove all these things, and here first I will check that this method actually hit using get request type or post request type, because if I go and reload this page, so currently this URL is hitting using get request type, but whenever we pass any value, click on submit, the same URL will hit using post request type. So we can detect here right here inside this method. So let's say if this request, and I will use a method called get method, and here post, it means the request method equals to post, then this if block will get executed. So here let's say session equals to session helper function. We have created an object, and by the help of this object, let's call set flash data message, and here let's say name data has been submitted, or we can say instead of message let's say success. And finally after storing data, let's redirect back to our URL. So return redirect to method, and inside here base URL, and inside this base URL remember our URL will be my hyphen form. All the things we done here. Now go back to view file to receive our flash message here. So here at the top of this file, let's that PHP tag. First we need to check that if any flash message exists or not. So let's wrap inside this if block. So if session helper function, we will use has method, and here look at IntelliSense, we need to pass the key. So here we have the key as success. So I will copy, pass it here. So if session flash data has a success key, so in that case echo session helper function, and we'll use the method called get flash data. So successfully, this is all about to store a data inside our flash variable, and also will get inside this view file. Save these changes, go here, let's reload this page, and here I am passing my name here. Click on submit, and actually we are not getting any value here. Let's go back to editor, go back to controller. So here we are storing our value inside the success key. Go to view file where we are receiving our value. So if session has a key called success, so in that case we need to echo that variable. Okay, here we have an error, and instead of message the key will be called success, because we have stored our variable value of flash data inside the success key. So that was our mistake. Save all these changes, go and reload. Let's pass again the name here, click on submit, and as we can see name data has been submitted. So this is the way you can store your flash messages, and also suppose if you are creating any admin panel, you are using any bootstrap plugin files, so in that case, for success you can use a success block, or for failure or any error block messages you can use error classes. So here we had seen all about the concept to store any flash data by using CodeIgniter 4. So this is the first way. Let's say that I want to store directly any value, any message to flash data, but instead of creating any object. So in that case, we can use the concept of session helper function directly. How to do that? Let's remove all these things. So instead of creating an object here, I will directly use session helper function. So session, and I will call set flash data. So in this case, let's say success name data has been submitted. Now here you can see that instead of creating an object of session, directly by using the session helper function, we called set flash data and we stored our messages inside this key. Let's go and see this output. Go and reload this page. Click on submit. Now as you can see, it is working fine. So this is the way, by using this concept, you can implement into your application and display good notifications, attractive and creative notifications to your end users of your success messages as well as for error blocks. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.